For many of you who have played Cyberpunk 2077, you'll know that the public transportation system in Night City is non-existent. Myself and Ryan did a video in the past on the tram system, which was elusive at best on the PC and non-existent on the console. On top of that, there are buses that exist and cabs that exist, but they're not used in any way, shape or form to provide a level of immersion or transport within the game. It was brought to my attention a couple of weeks ago by Dimitar Nazarov that the bus is spawnable in AMM and you can get NPCs to drive around and follow you. Now you might be thinking, why am I doing a video on assets in the game that are obsolete and non-existent? Well, because there's a couple of things that were brought to my attention in the details which might suggest CD Projekt Red are either cutting the fat, trying to make things more streamlined, getting rid of things they don't need, or they might be tweaking things in the background to bring in these things in future updates. The topic is random at best, I understand that, but I did find it a little bit interesting, and it did raise an eyebrow because a lot of these things do seem to be obsolete and there's no reason for CD Projekt Red to be kind of tweaking them or doing anything to them, which is exactly what they're doing. We'll also be mentioning the automated cleaning bots as well, which kind of has something to do with this topic. So without further ado, let's get to it. Okay, so to try and make this video as short as possible, I'm just going to go right into it and say that the only time you're going to ever get into a bus is during one of the last missions in Cyberpunk if you allow Johnny Silverhand to keep your body. You'll never see any buses driving around and you'll never see any cabs driving around, which makes the city feel a bit unlived in. In the mission On a Tight Leash, you will find 3 parked up, but they cannot be used, and only in the beta version can they be entered, which we'll talk about later on in the video. Dimitar Nazarov emailed me and said that he was able to spawn the bus using AMM, and then he was able to get an NPC to drive the bus around. Now it's quite interesting because these buses are never seen driving around Night City, which is kind of unusual considering they are just a vehicle, and they could easily be added into that pool of vehicles that has been used to populate the city. You can also have Delamain cabs driving around as well, which I don't understand why they didn't have that going on just to make the city look more lived in, but I digress. He was able to get Judy to drive around, and the AI animation suggests it's the same AI that's used for the chases on the police vehicles. The pathfinding is there, but the kind of object or obstacle navigation isn't down at all. Using AMM, Dimitar was also able to drive around the street cleaner, which has been done before, but the reason I'm bringing up the street cleaners with the buses is because they're both AI vehicles and they both have had their description changed in multiple versions of the game, which we will get to in a moment. Ryan did a few tests and he was able to drive the street cleaner, and he was also able to get NPCs to drive the bus in the current version of the game, which involved him tweaking AMM for himself, but I'll let him go into that just now.
Howdy Chooms, Ryan here. I wanted to replicate these findings for myself, and for convenience and repeatability I had to get Vehicle Spawner working in the current version. And after doing that, I was able to easily get the street cleaner drone and the bus to spawn, and I confirmed that you can still drive the street cleaner drone. And that the bus, you can't drive it yourself, but if you assign an NPC to the driver's seat, which you can do now with AMM, they will follow you if you drive a single passenger vehicle. So that is interesting that you can still do that even in the current version of the game, and that there is animation and physics for the bus. It's able to drive around, and interestingly they actually follow traffic laws and stop at red lights. But since AMM also added the feature where NPCs can drive you around when assigned to the driver's seat, I wanted to go a little further and, I wanted to go for a bus ride. The way it works is you assign an NPC to the driver's seat of a vehicle that you're riding in, and then you can select any fast travel point on the map and they'll drive toward it. The pathfinding is a little funky, but that was actually the least of my problems. Since you can't sit in the passenger seats of the bus, it won't detect you as riding in the vehicle, so it took a little bit of glitchery involving getting my motorcycle inside the bus for it to think that I was riding in it somehow and get the NPC to drive. But then I was able to go for a nice bus ride around Night City and the surrounding outskirts. So yeah, I achieved one goal, but there's another one. You may remember me talking about something from my NPC video a while back. And there's something that's been, just kind of bugging me at the back of my mind that I had to set right. Had to get those poor kids from the trailer park to school. As the local sheriff, I felt it was my duty to ride along with them and make sure they got there safe. Mission accomplished. Did my good deed for the day. Back to you, Mike.
Okay, so now that mission's out of the way, I felt it was important to note that in the beta version of the game and versions up to 1.2, you could scan any of the coaches or the buses within the game and it would show up as being the MT28 coach, and it will have all the details in front of you on the screen of your scanner, just like any other vehicle. But in the versions 1.3 and above, those buses in the trailer park are pretty much just part of the furniture. They're not real buses or vehicles. Unless this is a glitch, it means that CD Projekt Red have removed this asset from the game completely, and what's more is that if you scan the bus in the last mission of the game, it will come up as a completely different vehicle altogether, which isn't right. It's also worth noting that the positions of two of the buses have completely flipped around in the beta version to the current version, and they're facing opposite directions. You also can't enter the buses in the current version, but you could in the beta version. Minor differences, but it means that CD Projekt Red devs have been poking around and tweaking things in relation to these objects and the buses, when there really doesn't seem to be any reason for it whatsoever. The same can be said for the automatic street cleaners, which in my opinion are only used in one mission, which is the Beast in Me, and they're basically used for obstacles to go around within the biotechnical flats. The description of the automated street cleaner has changed 3 times. In the beta version it was called Test, in subsequent versions above before 1.3 it was called Obsolete, and then after 1.3 to 1.1 it was then called Loading. So I'm not sure what the devs are doing with the automated street cleaners in the buses, but it could be that they're tweaking things in the background to bring them in with better AI to implement them into the city to make it look more lived in, or they could just be kind of cutting things off and kind of getting rid of any programming or remnant stuff that they don't need to make the game run better. Complete speculation and a random video, I know, but if you've enjoyed the video, you can check out more on the YouTube channel, you can check us out on Discord for discussions, and you can also get involved in the Patreon if you so wish. My name's Mike, you've been watching Deconstructing the Game, and as always, I'll catch you later.